It's the night of May 28th. The skies over Florida's Cape Canaveral Space Force Station are suddenly lit up by a massive fireball. Now, this was supposed to be a standard hotfire engine test. If you're not familiar, a hotfire test is basically a routine procedure where they ignite the rocket's incredibly powerful engines right there on the launch pad, but they clamp the vehicle down so it doesn't actually lift off. But here's the thing, when you're testing a heavy lift rocket, you're unleashing unimaginable thermal and kinetic energy. Because of those inherent risks, what's supposed to be a routine test can turn into a catastrophe in a split second.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because this explosion didn't just happen in a vacuum. Back on April 19th, the rocket's third flight failed to deploy a satellite, the Bluebird 7, into its proper orbit. Then we get the May 28th hotfire test explosion, and the immediate fallout from that? By June 4th, a mission to deploy 49 Amazon broadband satellites was completely canceled. It's a really stark contrast between the super ambitious launch schedule they had planned and the grounded reality they're facing now. Which brings us to the very real heavy lift engine testing risks, and what happens when pushing the limits goes wrong. The immediate aftermath was definitely intense, though thankfully absolutely nobody was injured. But it just goes to show how severe the technical difficulties are when you're trying to develop a workhorse like this.
The vehicle we're talking about here is the New Glenn. This thing is a powerhouse rocket built by Blue Origin, and it stands in an incredible 320 feet tall. That's about 98 meters. It's literally designed to be humanity's launch workhorse to help us establish a real foothold in space. But, the sheer magnitude of this rocket makes this specific fiery setback a really big deal, especially when you remember it had already been grounded by the FAA after that payload issue on its third flight in April, right before exploding while prepping for its fourth. Launch Complex 36 is the one and only pad that currently hosts New Glenn launches. That's it.
So the crucial point is, because of that single point of failure, that massive fireball likely caused extensive damage to their only available launch pad. This means the New Glenn rocket is effectively grounded for a while. It creates this huge bottleneck that severely restricts their launch frequency moving forward and completely upends their immediate schedules. Because New Glenn is the designated ride for Blue Origin's Blue Moon lunar lander, these delays cascade instantly. And this brilliantly illustrates the two massive problems here. In the near term, it delays the robotic Blue Moon Mark 1 prototype, which was actually scheduled to fly to the lunar surface this year just to demonstrate its capabilities. But then look at the long-term impact. Blue Moon is contracted by NASA to actually land astronauts for the Artemis 4 crewed mission in late 2028. You can literally draw a straight line from a grounded robotic prototype right here on Earth directly to a looming threat for human missions. This entire moon-based construction schedule is incredibly fragile, almost like a giant puzzle. Step 1, the New Glenn rocket has to successfully launch the Blue Moon lander. Step 2, that lander is contracted by NASA to deliver 2 private rovers to the lunar surface. And then step 3, at least one of those rovers has to actually build the vital moon base infrastructure at the lunar South Pole before our astronauts even arrive in 2028. NASA is actively evaluating these massive program delays right now as we speak. The consequences for our broader lunar landing timelines are just undeniable at this point. So with heavy lift development proving to be so incredibly unforgiving, we really have to ask, will this single fireball at Launch Complex 36 cost humanity our scheduled 2028 return to the moon? It perfectly highlights the fragile, interconnected nature of our modern space race, where a single test down in Florida can literally dictate the timeline of human footprints on the lunar surface. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on the skies to see how this story develops.